Mike Ducharme. I'm the suspension engineer here at Felt Bicycles. New for '08, we've got 3 models in our suspension line. We start out with the Virtue, carry over from last year's design with a few tweaks. In development, we've come up with some new models. The next model up is called the Compulsion, which is our 145 millimeter travel bike. It uses the EcoLink technology, continue to carry that through the line. The high-end bike, our big travel bike, is the 165 millimeter Redemption series bike. And what I want to tell you a little bit about today is our EcoLink technology. And if you want to take a look at the bike, if you pan down here, you'll see that in the system itself, there's this red link, and I apologize for it being dirty and all, but this is the EcoLink system. The EcoLink itself is the link that ties the lower link and the upper link together, and it creates an equalized tension between the two. We as engineers and designers can locate where we want the pivots in those two links to bias the equalizing factors between upper and lower linkage. What that does is it gives us an optimum ratio and bias between the drivetrain and the suspension qualities, meaning that the efficiency that we can design into the frame can be maximized for that particular category. But you can see what the EcoLink does by watching the lower link move in articulation with the EcoLink itself. It's pretty cool. So come up and you see the top of the EcoLink as it mounts to the upper rocker. Again, same thing. So you can see the two links moving together and the bias that the lower link is not moving at the exact same rate as the upper link. Drivetrain forces come through the chain at a nearly perpendicular loading to the link, effectively isolating all the drivetrain loads from the suspension. New categories in the frame, we've got all sealed cartridge bearings in the pivot, front pivot, rear pivot, easy to maintain. The pivots inside the link itself are a roller needle bearing with external pivots and thrust washers that seal the system. Down on the lower end, same thing, exact same bearing technology. Through bolts, sealed cartridge bearings with dust seals and labyrinth seals on them. All of the labyrinth seal cups have the EcoLink system etched on them and the torque specs that need to be for the bolts. Moving to the back, you've got inside mounted calipers on the rear rotors and brake caliper. What we do is we hide them inside the chainstays and seat stays to protect them a little bit from the outside, and by mounting the caliper to the chainstay itself, it acts as a long beam so that when brake forces come into the rotor, you can see they spin around and want to come down straight into the chainstay tube itself, effectively wanting to rotate the tube down on braking. And because it's a long beam member, pivoted at the front, that effectively creates a long arm and stops that action from happening. That phenomenon is normally referred to as brake jack in the industry. And brake jack is the kind of a thing where stomping on the brakes on a bike that really weighs very little isn't a huge factor, because when you're in that situation, most of your braking is done with the front brake anyway, and it lifts the rear wheel off the ground. But if you're in a very smooth rolling situation and you don't want the back wheel to lift off the ground, having a brake system that isolates those loads and eliminates brake jack is a benefit. So now what we've got here in front of us is the 2008 Redemption series bike. Again, this is in the family. This is the biggest travel bike that Felt offers for current model year. It's offered in 4 sizes: small, medium, large, extra large. It's got 165 millimeters of travel, 160 millimeter travel fork. The head tube is actually a 1.5 system head tube. You can see the lower tube, the upper tube, the top tube and down tube. There's a big purchase. So we're not smashing the tubes flat trying to get to a small 1.1" tube. The tube's shaped out so it comes down where it's highest stress. It's a big diameter tube. As it gets to a lower stress, we go smaller, snakes down to where it meets the seat tube, gusset it up so you've got good standover clearance, because it is an aggressive trail bike and used in a free ride category sometimes. We don't design it so it's purely free ride. This is really meant to be more of a, you could pedal it all day up and down the hill, but when you get to the point where you want to go downhill, it really does work quite well. So we know it'll be used in a free ride application, and we didn't design it in such a way that you couldn't. Looking at the seat tube area, you notice that the difference between the Virtues and Compulsions that we have, the seat tube comes down, it's jutted forward slightly, and it meets up with this special seat tube joint that we designed. We did that so that we can use a standard band style Shimano front derailleur and yet come up and meet the same geometries. If you do a straight line through the seat tube all the way up, it would intersect the seat post at exactly the same place as you would if you had a straight seat tube. But we take that angle and we rotate the whole thing forward slightly so that we can have clearance behind the tube for when the tire comes up. When you get into big travel situations, you don't want to have crazy long chain stays or compromise the geometry in order to get that wheel to move where we want it to. We knew where we wanted the wheel to start, end, and then design the front chassis around that, keeping the saddle, handlebars, and all the tactile components exactly where a rider would still want them to be. Coming down, you'll notice that, like when you saw the compulsion, for example, the angle of the lower links are slightly different. And again, that leads into designing the chassis per intended use. There will be times when you want a full-on cross-country bike, and the Virtue might be the bike that actually is the best bike used in that application. Whereas if you want a bike that the suspension works all the time, super supple, it's either the Compulsion or one step further, the Redemption. And we do that because efficiencies are something that vary in each category. Cross-country racers want something with a very snappy feel, something that explodes when you step on the pedal and squirts you up the hill. And in a trail riding application, you really want that bike to be very neutral and unassuming, if you will, so that it works throughout all conditions in the trail. And again, if you were running in a downhill situation or a very technical off-road situation that you like riding big rocks, more aggressive stuff, the Redemption could be a bike that's definitely designed for you.